Lea, training for jet pilots in the U.S. Navy still at a standstill. I want to get your take on this. In April, pilots of the Navy's jet trainer refused to fly because of safety concerns. You've been talking about this for a long time, and of course the Navy ordered a pause in training while it conducted a review of the problems. You were first to obtain the results of the review, and you spoke exclusively to the Navy's #2 officer. Tell us about it.
Well, Maria, the bottom line is that the Navy still can't say when the T-45, the Navy's only jet trainer, will actually start flying again. And the report says that finding a solution to the problems has proved elusive. That's a quote. In other words, there isn't one yet. The issue is with the basic life support systems in both the T-45 trainer and in the F-18 Hornet. Those are systems that are supposed to provide clean, breathable air-to-air crew, but reports of incidents where pilots and crew became impaired have been on the rise, increasing in a lot of models last year. Take a look.
I visited Naval Air Station Oceana in Virginia Beach for an exclusive look at the latest technology being used to train F-18 pilots to handle aircraft system failures that have been plaguing the fleet.
Looks like we got the feel off the nose there.
The reduced oxygen breathing device allows pilots to experience oxygen loss while flying, but in the safety of a simulator. As a former F-18 pilot, I gave it a try.
We can put this oxygen mask on and slowly decrease that amount of oxygen concentration that we're getting to simulate as best we can exactly what the pilot would experience in the airplane itself.
All set. Thumbs up.
All right. Pilots could become dizzy, euphoric, or even pass out.
Basically, what I feel is lightheaded. It's very uncomfortable. It's hard to concentrate.
So far, it's been very successful in helping people recognize those symptoms before they experience any kind of cognitive or, worse yet, loss of consciousness.
Your heart rate's coming up a little bit. You might notice that yourself.
One training goal? To recognize the symptoms and pull a green ring, which gives the pilot up to 10 minutes of emergency oxygen.
One of the reasons for all this training in the simulator is because pilots are reporting more problems in planes like these. And when you're flying in the air in an F-18, it can be a matter of life and death.
In fact, we learned some pilots are more concerned about their life support systems failing than the risks of combat. The pilots we spoke with in Virginia disagree.
I see no problems operating safely under our current mitigation strategy that we're doing right now.
The Navy review released just today says it views these episodes as a #1 safety priority and announced an unconstrained resource approach to finding a solution. I spoke with Admiral Bill Moran, who ordered the review.
The system, the aircraft, ought to operate the way it was designed to operate. And it's up to us to figure out how to get that airplane back to that level of performance.
Well, as you saw in the case of a system failure, pilots have to manually activate emergency oxygen even if they're impaired. Admiral Moran says that an automatic system is the goal. He also tells me that if they're not able to get the training flights going again by the end of the summer, it will impact operational readiness. But Maria, he says that the Navy is getting close.
Is this a cost issue? I mean, what does this mean for the F-35 program, and what's behind it, Lea?
Well, those are two great questions. I mean, first of all, I did ask Admiral Moran about the cost, and he said that they are putting all their resources into this, that cost is not a factor in trying to solve this problem. So it's an unconstrained resource approach is basically what they're calling it in the Navy. Now, the F-35 is essentially a different animal, but it's a Navy jet, it's an Air Force jet, it's a Marine Corps jet, and a wing in Arizona just had to ground the F-35 because of this type of problem where there were 5 reported incidents. Now, reportedly, they're going to start flying again probably this weekend, but these same issues are impacting the F-35, Maria. Of course, the F-35 program is an extremely costly program. It's sort of a jack of all trades, and it's been a struggle making it an airplane that can sort of master so many different trades, Maria.
Yeah, you make all great points. I want to bring the panel in here because we have been talking about the age of the Navy fleet, the Army fleet. I mean, we're talking about some of the oldest fleets in decades, and that is a cost issue.
And General Mattis, actually, I think it was yesterday, made a comment about the sequestration and the budget, the defense budget cuts that were in that, and how devastating that was, and that it will take years for the Defense Department to recover from that. But however, the upside is that you do have a president now and President Trump dedicated to rebuilding the defense and our military.
And, you know, yeah, I think, Maria, to that point, too, and I'm sure Leah is correct that this particular issue isn't a cost issue, but in general, I think there's a ton of cost issues.
No, that's why he focused on it in the budget.
Right, and if you talk to people in the military, they will say, we are simply not ready. We're not ready to fight. And by the way, it's unconscionable to put our fighting men and women into the position where they don't have the proper equipment or training that they need to properly defend America. And I think it's one of the reasons that Trump won, and to also to connect the dots between policy here and markets. I think the markets certainly believe that we're going to spend what we need to. If you look at Boeing stock, for instance, Boeing hit another huge all-time high just yesterday. And I think, to me, that has been really a Trump stock because it's a combination of defense and infrastructure.
Yeah, even though he was one of the first people that Trump called out.
Ironically,
on
right?
Twitter.
Right.
Meanwhile, Leah, then there's the war in Afghanistan. The Pentagon reportedly planning to send nearly 4,000 additional troops to the country to break a stalemate with the Taliban. The president gave Defense Secretary Jim Mattis the power to determine troop levels in Afghanistan earlier this week. What's your take on this? Will this turn the tide of the war?
Well, it's going to be necessary to turn the tide of the war, and that's according to the senior commander on the ground there, who says that additional troops are needed in order to do that. The Taliban fighting season is about to get underway there, so I think that that's probably part of the reason for this decision right now. But, of course, Secretary Mattis has just said that we are not winning there. So the only way to win is to increase the number of troop levels, and I think that that's what they're trying to do. The Pentagon is reviewing the strategy in Afghanistan, and the Secretary of Defense says that that may take several weeks, Maria.
That was a stunning comment that Secretary Mattis made the other day, wasn't it? That we are not winning in Afghanistan. Right. I mean, he just said it.
Well, and, you know, listen, I think the honesty is important, though, right? And then how do we address it? Right. How do we start to win? And perhaps 4,000 more troops is the first step there. I will tell you, I'm normally on board with the Trump administration on just about everything. Right. I worry about us escalating in Afghanistan. I worry about the quagmire. We've been there for a heck of a long time. Have we really won over the hearts and minds of the people? I'm not so sure. But I do love the honesty of the analysis of the situation.
It certainly was. Leah, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.